Hello everyone. The Incredible Top channel is with you. Today we are going to talk about 5 incredible cases of long coma. Munira Abdullah, UAE. Munira Abdullah, 32, was involved in a car accident back in 1991 on a highway near the city of Al Ain. When the woman saw that a collision with the bus was inevitable, she covered her son, who was with her in the car, with her body. The boy escaped with bruises, and the woman with an open head injury was taken to a local hospital. When it became clear that doctors in the Emirates could not help the seriously injured Munira, she was transported to London. British doctors were also powerless, they only made an accurate diagnosis. Doctors have determined a woman is in a state of minimal consciousness, which is characterized by the fact that the patient is in a coma, but at the same time remains sensitive to pain. For many years Munira Abdullah was fed through a tube and tried to regain consciousness with physiotherapy, but it was all in vain. It is not known how the patient's fate would have developed if the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi Mohammed bin Zayed had not intervened in it 2 years ago. A member of the royal family donated a significant amount to the woman's treatment at a specialized clinic in Germany, which finally had an effect. Then Munira returned to Abu Dhabi, where a long rehabilitation began. For 27 years spent without movement, the woman's muscles atrophied, and she was forced to relearn the most elementary things: use cutlery, talk, walk. Jan Grzycki. In 1988, Jan Grzycki, a railway worker from Poland, was caught between 2 carriages and received a monstrous blow to the head. He fell into a coma and regained consciousness only 19 years later. His case is unusual not only for the length of the vegetative state. Jan fell out of reality while still in socialist Poland, a relatively young man, and woke up under capitalism and found out that he had 11 grandchildren. The history of the Pole has spread all over the world and is one of the most famous cases of coming out of a long-term coma. True, Grzycki himself assures that he was directly in a coma for only 4 years, and for the next 15 years he was completely paralyzed. Gary Dockery, USA. Police officer Gary Dockery was shot in the head at age 33 while trying to apprehend a gunman. Rescuing the man, the doctors performed a long-term operation, removing more than 20% of the brain. Unfortunately, they did not manage to extract the bullet, as well as to bring Gary to consciousness after the operation. The policeman woke up himself in 1996, 7 years after the fatal shot, and immediately began to speak. Surprisingly, Dockery retained memories of all the events preceding his injury, and also recognized relatives and children. Only the moment of the pursuit of the criminal and the injury were erased from the memory. Alas, Gary was not destined to live a long life. He died a year later after miraculously healed from a blood clot in his lung. Sarah Scantlin, USA. College student Sarah Scantlin was hit by a drunk driver at a crosswalk at 18. Several severe head injuries led to the fact that the girl fell into a coma and spent about a month connected to life support systems. The doctors managed to achieve some positive dynamics in the treatment of the victim, but all she could do was breathe and swallow liquid food on her own. After 16 years, an experienced rehabilitation specialist began to work with Sarah, who after a year managed to achieve a reaction to stimuli in the patient. Sarah began to respond to some of the doctor's actions with shouts, and 20 years after the accident, in 2005, she uttered the first word. Scantlin failed to fully restore all body functions and mental activity. She moves in a wheelchair, speaks indistinctly, and is fully confident that she is still 18 years old. Terry Wallace, USA. In 1984, 19-year-old Terry Wallace and his friend were driving a car and, losing control, fell into a pond. Terry's friend died, and ours himself was in the water only the next day. The guy miraculously survived, but his brain was severely damaged. Wallace spent 19 years in a coma and came to his senses in 2003. His first words were "Mom, Pepsi and milk." The patient remembered well the events before the accident and the very moment the car fell into the river, but he had no idea how much time had passed since then. He was sure that Ronald Reagan was still president and was surprised by the technical innovations that had appeared in his house for almost 20 years. Wallace remains paralyzed but talks tolerably well. Interestingly, the guy was considered a hopeless patient and was only looked after, without making any attempts to rehabilitate. Doctors believe that latent reserves of the brain helped Wallace to return from oblivion, which repaired itself while its owner lay like a corpse, and did not react to any stimuli. That's all for today, thanks for watching.